So, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm gonna try to keep it. Oh, you know what? I should have started a timer. Um, take. You know what? We could do this. Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna start the first episode by calling this alone. I'm trying to figure out how to uh just live mentally alone. I already feel alone, and there's a difference in all that because here's the thing. So I feel everyone is an individual. Um, Even though yeah, we're all grouped and we all act accordingly, and we could all be put into. But when you get to know a person, they are they are them, right? So you know, you can be married to someone, but if that person goes, you're not going with them. You can be family, but in the end of the day, what's to stop a person in the family to feel like they're not there? So, n- you know, that's just how I feel. But when it comes down to where I'm at in life, um, it's lonely. Uh, I would like to say that I'm not the most difficult, or I like to think that I'm not the most difficult because I have family and friends that appreciate and love me for who I am and accept how I am. But people I've been in relationships with, it's hasn't been easy. Um and it's weird because most people are like, well, you have specific standards, or uh like you have issues. And honestly, like, the only issues I'd say I have is that, again, the mental loneliness, or the loneliness that I have um going on. And that's just basically where I'm at. um I've had relationships where they want to start families right away, and you're just I don't know why I can't. I know I can't do that just like that. I grew up in an unstable household, and I don't know how my family, my parents were, but they were. It felt like they just had kids just to have kids because they fell in love, and from there it just all fell apart, you know. Um, and it was tough, regardless of the whole thing, they just weren't a fit with each other, and it happens. But at the same time, I'm not looking to be in a relationship where, we just gamble and just say, fuck it, let's start a family. That may work for some people, but, what's to say of the chances that it works out for you? That's just, you're literally picking a draw out the hat. And so that's the reason why I can't do that. And I've had people that try doing that, and it's messed with me. Um, you know, I've had people wanting to have me get their daughter, and in front of my dad, they said that, and that was awkward. That was so awkward. Like, who's gonna, we're like 14, 15 and here, I mean, like 13. Yeah, there you go, like 13, 14, and you're literally gonna tell my dad that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if my daughter lost her virginity to you, to your son. Like, what the hell? that's that's crazy. you know um like, given, like, even though her daughter and I were, like, already doing things, but, like, that's weird to hear, you know and things didn't work out because of that. That shit felt weird. And then fast forward to, like, you know um an ex and I, like, breaking up. Like, she wanted me to get her pregnant. Like, what the fuck? um and then, that didn't end up too well either. Like, it gave me this whole overwhelming fear of, I'm not scared of women, but I'm scared. I have a fear of how they react. Because there's the reason why there's a saying that hell have no uh fury than a woman's scorn, because that shit is real. you know a woman out of feeling could feel like you're the enemy, and anyone who's not willing to listen to your side of the story will come after you. um and I've been in, like, really tough situations. And another thing is too, is that, like, the majority of my friends are women. And all, I mean, to be honest, I feel like all this really stems from you know um me not, like, my mom walking out of me at such a young age, and me just trying to fill in that void of, like, feeling like I exist or I matter or people do care about me, like, you know and it's just going to be a constant feeling that I'm going to have, for the rest of my life. um and I've learned to, like, live with it. Excuse me. I learned to, like, live with it and, like, just you know go through with it and accept it. However, it comes in, like a roller coaster. This overwhelming feeling of, like no one is there for you, and it's like a blanket of, like, it's like a void just consuming you, and you're like trying to hold on, wait till the storm fucking passes, and um that's just basically it. You're trying to get through whatever the fuck the problem is. You're hoping to God, like, you know today's not the day. But yeah. And that's those are key parts in it. And part of this, like, massive, so I felt this for a very long time, and then when I finally found something that I want to focus on and push for, um this is when that feeling started to take on a more physical form. Because other than my relationships, they were only just from time to time. And that wasn't really much like a thing, even though yeah, it took a toll on me. Um, when it really started to take a toll on me is when I started to focus on a project, and I started to like lose family and friends, you know. And it was during this process, you know, uh, I started to realize that like how things are really on the outside. Um, you know, it's only when it's too late or someone wants to clear their name, I feel like some people start to come out the woodwork and start to like, like, oh no, you don't know the full story and anything. I mean, it depends. Um, it depends. For me, I'm not looking for me, I'm doing this because I need to be able to like talk and get things off my chest, and be able to say things and how I feel. I to be honest, I don't want to go to therapy, and I don't think I will go to therapy. Um because to be honest, I could just be doing this and talking to you guys, and then you guys could either talk shit in the comments or like, relate to whatever the fuck I'm saying, or even give your insight, you know. But that's just basically that. So sorry, like every time I'm breathing, like I feel like I'm being clustered, like I feel like I'm in tight space. Don't get me wrong, I'm in the middle of my room, but it feels so tight right now because I'm expressing how I feel. Um, but yeah, and I'll get into another segment about my previous project and the loss of that. But right now, I'm talking about this feeling of loneliness and being alone and living alone. And so yeah, being in relationships. There was a couple times where um, there were some pregnancies, but at the same time, they happened. Um, one girl got an abortion, which I told her it was her body, her choice, and like I did clarify like if she needed me to get another job, like and she's like, oh no, I'm getting an abortion. I'm like, okay, that's something I can do, deep down, I don't want it. I don't want that to happen, but like, what am I gonna do? So she did what she did, and I'm not gonna lie, like I really wish I was there because like, you know, um, yeah, that's a very tough thing, and she's like, oh, I didn't want to interfere with your show or anything like that. And to be honest, man, I could give a damn. Like, that's crazy, dude. That's so crazy. But she's like, yeah, I didn't think you'd care. Or, like, you were busy that day, so I didn't want to. And I would have gone. Um, you know, I would have gone because that shit is no fucking joke. But that's what I'm saying. Like, like it's like things always were for something that my project was took in priority over, and it wasn't always by my choice. It wasn't always by my choice. It was literally life making that like, nah, this is what it is, you know. sometimes life just pushes you in that direction, and you don't even, and you can't go back, you know. um but yeah, had this show, and that was basically that, you know. And then fast forward, this other woman and the first time she hijacked my sperm, and I told her not to. I told her to take the plan B, and she's like, "No, I'm gonna take it at home. I'm gonna have bought it and everything." But that was it. She went home. And then a couple months later, she had a miscarriage. And they were twins. Her body rejected the one, and the other one was like a hole. Yeah, and she bled out the hospital. She lived, but like I found out because about a month later, she hit me up, and we went driving, and we were in the alleyway by this store, and she was just like talking to me. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like, the way that I cope with things, I don't cry right away. I laugh. And deep down, I'm in like a lot of pain, you know. And there's times where, like, I'm not joking, where I want to cry, and I just end up laughing, like, and I'm I'm clenching on my chest because I'm just so much in pain, and I'm just start laughing. And and I tell her, like, all I can think about was this quote from Rick and Morty, where, you know, a million ants, and Nova was having had a baby, and he's like, what's it called? It was like 500,000 ants and half collapsing sun, or something like that. Yeah, my mind just went somewhere else. And I didn't know what to fucking do. I didn't know what to do. You know, I didn't know what to do, and 100%, I look like an asshole, and I sound like an asshole, and I sound like yeah, 100%. But I don't know how to feel in that moment. You know, all I know is that I'm hurt because I wasn't in that situation with her. Someone else was. You know, I was the other guy. And this person went through all that process with her. You know. So, what am I to do? This person's the one that's at the hospital with her. This person's the one that's bleeding, like yelling at doctors and nurses and the security guard, saying that his fiance is bleeding out on the ground. It wasn't me. It was him with her. You know? And then fast forward to a life that didn't work out. Those two people. And then I ended up moving in. And even then, that was tough, because it was her trying to, like, tell him, who I am, and then who it wasn't, she didn't know where to begin. She didn't know how to talk to the son about us. She didn't know how to talk to the baby daddy about us. She didn't know. And I tried, to help her out through this process, but no. Here's the thing. She wasn't finished over this guy. And she realized that what we was just an empty feeling of excitement and, like, something that was lacking in her relationship. And I would just filled that in until what she had was gone. Then she realized, like, oh shit. And we tried, and from time to time she was having breakdowns because of the events that happened in her life. Was traumatic, and that's what happened. And then she ended up getting pregnant again. And then when we sat down together and she told me, I asked her, like, okay, well, what would you like to do? And she's like, I'm thinking about getting an abortion. And all it did was brought me back to that one moment with that other person. And I was just like, okay. And instead of saying the first thing I said that first time was when I was like, okay, I could get another job and I could do this, or I could figure this out. And nope, I went straight to, well, it's your body, your choice. And she started crying, and that was just it. And I said, like, it's okay. Like, I'll be there with the appointments, and I'll make sure everything's okay. I'll be there with you. But it still, I guess, wasn't the right answer, because a little bit later, and like a couple weeks later, we find out that, again, the body was rejecting the embryo, or the baby, basically. So it was killing it. So she had to get an abortion regardless. And I asked her when I took her to the appointment, I'm like, is there any way we can save the baby? Is there anything we can do? And she's like, no, Peter. And during that whole process, I went with her, and I took time off, and I was with her. What I'm saying is I was with her. Despite everything I said, I was with her. I was there at the appointments. I was there, when it happened. I took her to go get something to eat, and I took time off so I could be with her, in case she needed something. Like I was there. And fast forward months later, when I got this would be another segment too. When we got an apartment and everything, she tells me, she's like, Peter, like, you were my rock bottom. I was like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, you're my rock bottom. She's like, I expected you when we were going to have a, she's like, I don't want a kid with you because when you told me your body, your choice, I expected you to say that we can do this together. And it just brings you back to this like moment where it's just like, God damn. And I told her like, well, I was with you every moment. I even asked if we can save the baby. Is there anything we can do? And she's just like, that wasn't enough. And at that point, like, like I will give her the fact that like she was going through something, and but like in the end of the day, like my action spoke for itself. you know um and that's where I'm at. Like, you know um she's with someone else, and she's happy, and that's good. I'm really happy for her. And but it's just like, even when her and I went through that, the fact that I was the other guy and all these other things, and I just told her, like, you know what, like, you really wanted that other person, but because I wasn't him, you know it's easy to like look at me like I ruined your life. I told her the difference between you and I is that if I ever hit rock bottom, I'm not going to blame another person. I would just blame myself for making decisions that put me in this position. Just like you, I wouldn't blame you for making me feel this way. I just blame the choice of person that I made, and then I had to walk away. Um, you know, I didn't walk away though. Not until later on, where like I had to like just like force myself to stop. After like a year or close to a year of her and I not like being near each other, and her moving out. But yeah. Uh and this is the thing, like, because like I said, how my family grew up, um I just didn't want that life. I don't want that life. I grew like from a house, from an apartment to a car, to a small apartment, to a guest house, all my life guest house. And then, you know, my dad now has a fucking house, living his life, and I'm happy and proud for him. But it took a long time for him to be happy. And these people don't understand that, like, when you have this certain life, your mentality is just a whole lot different. You don't see fucking rainbows and everything. Like, you know, sometimes the ringing in your ear is like, you know, you're out of it. You're fucking gone. And rock bottom literally just feels like, oh, okay, it's just another fucking Monday. Like, so yeah, and friends, like, to be honest, I just don't trust anyone. Like I trust specific people, But everyone's capable of doing something shitty. You know, it's only when someone like like really lets their guard down around you. And there's genuine times you can tell when someone is literally being themselves. They're vulnerable to the fucking T. And there's other times you just and then you're praying to God that your instincts are not telling you the truth, but in reality they fucking are. They are. And it's the human side that just doesn't listen to them. So yeah, that's why I feel lonely. That's why I'm learning to just accept it. You know, I hated when friends told me like, "Oh, you just need to learn how to be alone." Like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, in my head, dude, that's all I am. That's all I ever am. One day you're going to stop talking to me. One day I'm not going to be with this person. One day all of you guys are going to fucking die. And it's just going to be just me. In the end of the day, I'm the one that goes home with my problems. I'm the one that goes to bed in my bed and fucking, in my dark room. Where are all you? And that's been me since I was fucking 6. Since I was 6. So, like, the fuck you talking about? I need to learn to fucking be alone. If anything, I have to cope with being a fucking alone. I need to cope to just accept that I'm gonna grow old and just live my life like that. And I'm not scared of I'm not scared of growing old. It's just getting old. Getting there and not having uh not being able to do enough. You know? Like, I want marriage. I want a family. I want, stability. And I've had people like tell me like, "Oh, let's do it." But like it can't just be like that. I believe in God. Where are you on that? Like, you don't have to be a Christian, or you don't have to, but like, you have to at least understand where I'm at, because when I'm in a tough situation, I pray and I work my ass off. And like that's something that has kept me fucking solid throughout my life. You know? Um I don't really give a fuck about politics. I don't, but a lot of people this day and age all of a sudden really do. In reality, there's always going to be some kind of person in the fucking high chair. It's just all about how you fucking take care of yourself and how you provide for your moving forward. You know, your vote doesn't really count. You're only voting for the person who's going to vote for the person. You know, not saying not to go vote. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that like you're literally like one, like you're like a fraction of a voice amongst billions. You know, the bigger picture is the most important thing to me. I don't care about tomorrow. You know, kids are important when we have them, or when I have them, my life stops becoming my life and it's all about theirs. Like, you know, and being with a partner, I expect my partner to have an individual like mindset. Like they're on top of their shit. I want them to just be them. I don't want them to be just my partner. They have to think for themselves. They want to do things for themselves. They gotta, like, and then when it comes down to the major things, we come together. Like, bro, these people are like, we're just gonna base this off love and we're just gonna roll the dice. You're fucking crazy, dude. You're fucking crazy. For some people it works out. For other people, that's when they start to realize the bullshit and you're just like, what the, like, yeah. Because a majority of those relationships I just told you about, done. They found whoever and everything like that. Like, love it's only momentarily. And then it doesn't matter if it's been fucking 5 years, X amount of years. Like, it's a moment. Because once it's over, it's done. You can remember that shit like it's tomorrow. All of it. And it won't matter. Again, I need to figure out how to just do this. But yeah, thank you for tuning in and listening. And, if it's a downer for you to listen to this, then hey, you can just, watch something else. I like to watch like highlights of like memes and stuff like that, or like videos, or like even animal educational videos about animals. Stuff like that. Or music. You could look up certain music, new songs and stuff like that. I don't know, find things to like cheer you up. You don't have to listen to this, but if you did make it this far and listening to this, I appreciate it. And again, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to just be you. The only thing is that you have to at least like talk to someone or find someone to talk to. You don't have to go to therapy. If you want to go to therapy to understand what's up with you and to understand more about yourself, by all means, and to seek that kind of help, you know what I'm saying? If you really need it, go for it. But if not, then hey, just keep doing you and just take it day by day. There's meetings, there's people again you could talk to. Mental health is very important, and understand that a job is just a job. If you love your job, different story, but you have to focus on your mental health. It's very important. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great one, and thank you for joining me on this. I don't really know what to call this podcast yet, but the title of this episode is going to be Alone. They're most likely going to be vague titles and stuff like that. And again, I don't care how you guys feel. Talk shit about me in the comments if you want. I appreciate that. Or just go ham. I'm trying to figure out how to end this. They write me an ending. But thank you for tuning in. Bye.